All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another episode of the 700 Pelham Road podcast. This is week 2 of the spring edition of the podcast, and we are finally getting into the heat of basketball season. It feels like it's been forever since we've had a competitive team, mainly just because we've had so much turnover the last few years. But it's good to be back, man. How you feeling?
I'm feeling good. Yeah, like you said, we've gone through some rocky patches, especially last season, and even the beginning of conference play this year. Or not conference play, beginning of the season out of conference play was a little rocky this year. Um, but I think not only are the guys gelling, I think the coaches are finally figuring out, rotations and, what guys play best with, with who and what guys play best where. So, it's starting to come together.
Yeah. Um, I think we mentioned in the last episode, and we're really going to touch on it a lot today. One of the big differences, when I look at the teams earlier in Coach Harper's tenure that were really competitive versus really the last few years, it's been guard play. We haven't had a lot of dynamic guards. We've really had to lean on guys down in the post, which is great if you've got, a Jason Burnell or, I hate to say it, but Maro Zelesnak, a guy who can really, I hate to say his name, but it's true. I mean, just guys that can really bang down low. And now we've got Kiki Tandy who can knock down 5 or 6 threes a night.
Yeah.
And I think that's just a big difference in this team is we finally have some guards that can really put some points on the board.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, whenever you're dealing with college basketball, especially, having a solid big man is, phenomenal, which lucky for us, with Mason Nicholson, him especially, we got some size, in the paint. But yeah, no, having Kiki to not only be able to, put up the threes, but just be able to facilitate the offense. And I mean, at some points, it just looks perfect. It looks seamless. So
Yeah.
just being able to have, that guard just facilitate the offense and kind of keep everything going, even when, you think it's about to fall apart, that really, really helps.
Yeah. And, I don't know, when I look at, some of the best college basketball teams really the last 10 years, I'd say, you kind of look back to, I think about that great Kentucky team that, had guys like Devin Booker and the Harrison twins. One of the big things they had was, and you mentioned it, when you get late in the shot clock and your first called play hasn't exactly netted a good shot, when you've got a guy who can just ISO at the top of the key late in the clock, that really helps because now you feel like you've got a fallback plan if a play doesn't get you a shot. Instead of feeling a lot of pressure to keep moving the ball around, you can run through your set, kill it, and just get it to your best player at the top. And we've been able to do that with Kiki. And, the last few years we haven't had that. We haven't had a dynamic guard that can say, give me the rock, and he's going to go get you 25 or 30. Now, have we lost some games? Yeah, we've lost some games. But you can tell we're starting to really put together our identity as a team. And that's going to be dangerous if we can really get hot going into conference tournament time.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, we definitely lost some games. We're going to lose some more games. I don't think people understand the jump from ASUN to Conference USA. I think we went from in the ASUN, it was the 26th best conference, and the ASUN is ASUN was 26. Conference USA is I think 15th best basketball conference.
Yeah.
Which that doesn't sound. I know some people are 15th. That's not great. There's a ton of conferences in basketball compared to football, and for mid major, that's a pretty high number.
Yeah.
So we're not playing nobodies, and even our out of conference schedule was pretty stacked. So to see this team, which is a brand new team almost, um, kind of figuring it out as we go along and wading through the water. There's been some ugly losses, but there have also been some upsets.
Yeah. Yeah. We've got 2 dubs against Liberty, who I know you and I have talked about it before. They were picked to win the conference. And we swept them. And this is the team. This is a team that won the ASUN last year in basketball. Right? No. Yeah. Whichever conference they were playing in basketball last year, they won the conference tournament for whichever conference they were playing in last year. And we just swept them in our first year in the conference with a brand new roster. I mean, 10 new players and only 1 returning rotation player. Now, like you said, yeah, there have been some losses, but you start looking at the schedule. We've got Liberty taken care of. Our next Western Kentucky game is at home. We've got, I'm counting right now, 1, 2. Well, you've got 2 road games coming up against Utah, UTEP, and New Mexico State, but then 5 of our next 7 games are at home after that. I mean, there's a chance that we're sitting here at 11-10. We could be in the 18 to 19 win range by the time we get to conference tournament play. And from there, I mean, I know you and I have seen it happen before. Anything can happen. I mean, I've seen 5 and 6 seeds go on a run and win the conference tournament, and all of a sudden you're looking up, and you blink, and now you're in the Sweet 16. I mean, it's just a matter of getting hot at the right time. But yeah, you mentioned Mason Nicholson, man. He's been a revelation down low with his size.
Oh yeah, and his size really helped in both of the Liberty games. One of the big things I've seen from a lot of Liberty fans after both of our games against them is they just didn't have the size to go up against him.
Yeah.
Now, that's not necessarily always going to be the case in our conference games, but he is a little bit on the bigger side for, what most of the schools at our level will have. So that definitely is a big advantage, especially when we get into, conference tournament play, because if teams feel like, they're not confident enough to get in the post and get in the paint, and we're forcing them to shoot threes or forcing them to shoot middies, that bodes very well for us, unless they're just on like a astronomical tear, and then we're just going to have to live with it. But yeah, no, that man, between him and Kiki, and obviously everybody's doing a great job. It takes more than just 2 people, but those 2 especially, having those 2 linchpins just sets an amazing foundation for the team. And it's part of the reason why I think we're sitting at 3-3 in conference play. And like you said, getting the sweep on Liberty, which that is a huge deal. I don't think people realize how hard it is to win in Liberty Arena. I think that was their last home loss since we beat them 3 years ago at home, which that loss, like 3 years ago, whenever it was, that snapped like a 35, 40, 50. It was some huge number. They had a huge home game win streak, and it snapped it back then. They went on another tear because their fans are insane. The Liberty Jokers, the student section, absolutely crazy.
Yeah.
And that snap, us beating them snapped it again. I think they had won every home game since that last loss. I could be wrong though.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, sweeping Liberty and getting that out of the way, huge. If we see them again, it'll be on a neutral court up in Huntsville. And we took some tough losses in there. We had started off conference play 2-0, and then we took 3 L's in a row. 2 games that were very winnable. That Louisiana Tech game just kind of really got away from us.
Yeah.
We can beat Western Kentucky. We can beat Middle Tennessee State. I think we can beat Louisiana Tech. But the other 2, we easily could have won those games. Louisiana Tech just really got away from us. Biggest thing is we just got to lock in. The conference, like if you look at the standings, nobody is like far and away above right now. Sam Houston, Louisiana Tech are 5-1. There's like 4 or 5 teams at 3-3, and then everybody else is 2-4.
Yeah.
There's not a huge margin of separation in this conference. And like I said, I think that just goes back to how deep and how strong this conference is.
Yeah, I mean, you just mentioned, how deep it is. It's going to be one of those things where, you look, whoever wins the tournament, when March, the selection committee, when they have to, give that team a seed, is going to look and say, oh, well, they've got a conference record of, that's just over 500. But then you start looking, it's like, oh, well, the rest of the conference does too, because they just beat up on themselves. I mean, this is a tough conference where, you've got Liberty, who was picked to win the conference. They're 2-4 right now in conference play. I mean, they're 2 games below 500. And they're realistically one of the best teams at the mid-major level right now. You mentioned all those teams at 3-3. We could be as high as 3rd place in about 4 days. I mean, that's just how volatile these standings are. And I'm not going to come out and say that that we're going to go win the conference tournament. I just don't know. There's a lot of unknowns right now we just got to talk about it. The coaching job that Coach Harper's done to get a roster with this much turnover in this season in a new conference where you don't have any experience against these coaches or these players or in any of these away arenas. And he's 500 with 2 games that realistically could have, should have, would have won with a couple breaks. We're 11-10 overall. I mean, it's still impressive that we're competing with all of that stacked up against us. So, I mean, just credit to Coach Harper, man, because year after year, he's still got us in the top 5 of the conference, no matter where we're at.
Oh, yeah. And, I mean, this goes back to one of the Liberty guys that, we follow and interact with on Twitter was saying, or was just throwing out there that, like, money and resources and everything doesn't necessarily equal success.
Yeah.
And, for us, it's kind of the opposite end. We are on like the bottom end of the totem pole when it comes to the money and our athletics budget. Our facilities are nicer than most. So, that one's a little different, but like money, resources, NIL collectives, all that, we are bottom of the totem pole. Yet you see, obviously in football, we won a bowl game, and then you see Coach Harper throwing this team together. I don't want to say throwing because they did a great job recruiting, but, putting this team together and putting up a fight in a solid conference. And like, I know you were throwing out the tournament. One of the things I was thinking about, if we were to go and somehow win the conference tournament, in years past and all of the other conferences we've been at, we've been looking at like a 15 seed at the highest.
Yeah.
One of the beauties of being in a conference like this is we could realistically be looking at a 13 seed.
Yeah.
We could be looking at, depending on how the chips fall, a 12 seed. As opposed to, being relegated to, we're going to have to play a 1 seed somewhere.
Yeah.
Now we have a chance, to get a little bit more of a favorable matchup in the round of 64 if we were to get there. Obviously, that's way on down the line. We're not saying we're gonna win it. Anything could happen. We could. Somebody else easily could. So don't anybody go get butthurt and say we think we're gonna win it all. That's not at all what we're saying. We're just throwing hypotheticals out there.
Yeah, and you mentioned, being a 15 seed or even a 16 seed in the past. I think one of the one of the crazy things about it has been you look at who we've played the last 2 times we've been in the tournament. Um, it's been a direct result of the conference we play in has netted us really bad matchups. You look at Louisville; they were 25-9, and I believe when we pull up here, um, they let's see where they what seed they were. Um,
I wouldn't be. I think they were probably a 2 seed because I don't think we would have been any higher than 15 that year, especially in the OVC.
Yeah, they were a 2 seed in the Midwest region. But then you look at, I think, 3 years ago, we were a 15 seed again. And we got stuck against Auburn, which had at that time had two NBA starters on roster in Walker Kessler and Jabari Smith. And I know you were at the game. You can confirm Walker Kessler, one of the best shot blocking centers of the last 5 years.
Yeah. No, when that man went out, we had a chance. We had our foot on the gas, and I think we got it down to single digits. He got stitched up, came back in the game, and that was it. It was wraps.
And that's just it was a direct result of the conference we played in that we had such a low seed because it's a lot like Belmont, right? When they would win the OVC, they were always a really good team. They got stuck with a terrible matchup because they won a terrible conference. Whereas, even if we've got an okay record, we win the conference tournament here, we probably, like you said, end up with a 13, maybe a 12. And for those of you basketball aficionados on Twitter, YouTube, whatever, you guys will know 12-5 is the biggest upset every year. It happens every year. There's at least one 12-5 upset in the first round. And it's because
12-5 always ruins brackets.
Always. If you're a smart bracket picker, you're always going to have at least one 12-5 upset. So, we get into a 12, you start to think, man, you start to like our chances, especially you look at Kiki, who's known to really get hot in the second half. And the second half usually wins these tournament games. So, I'm not going to go out and predict anything crazy like that, but it's just we have a chance to really have a good finish to this season if we start to really put the pieces together, for the last month and a half of the regular season.
Yeah. Yeah, that's the biggest thing is just stay focused and keep pushing. Because the record is going to be what it is. Our biggest thing is we need to put ourselves in the best position possible in the conference tournament so that, we can be playing in March and April. April is obviously Cinderella run, best case scenario.
If we make it to April, man, we are going to be on cloud nine.
If we make it to April, I will be drunk.
Dude, after the fall we had with football and all the crazy stuff that happened, if we make it to April, I'll tell you right now, you will see the dark side of the JSU fan base out in public.
Oh yeah, no. Let us come into Conference USA, run it, then get to March Madness, and get to like the Sweet 16. Y'all don't want to. We're not even gonna get into it because I'm gonna just say right now it's not gonna happen because y'all don't want it to happen.
Yeah,
because we're friendly now, the friendliest campus in the South, but y'all don't want that to happen because
y'all saw that. Y'all saw that tweet I sent to that Florida State account about 3 months ago, right? That's what you're going to get every day if we make it to the Sweet 16. So just for y'all's sake, pray it don't happen.
I will say though, considering us getting credentials for a bowl game, I would love to possibly get something for a March Madness game. So I'm gonna need Coach Harper to sacrifice something, sell his soul to the devils, so figure something out so we can get to March Madness because I would love to step foot on a March Madness court.
Yeah. Oh man, we've getting to go on the field for the New Orleans Bowl is pretty awesome, but there's levels to this, and if we I don't know what the NCAA's media stringency is for March Madness, but I couldn't imagine that experience getting to step on a court, for a tournament game. It would be absolutely insane. I mean, absolutely insane. So we got to hope it happens for real.
Yeah, it would have to be in March though, because you got some important business to take care of in April, so it has to be in March.
Yeah, from like 70% of April, I am booked out. Man. From like April 10th to April 30th, I am done. So for those of you who don't know, I'm getting married. I then go on my honeymoon, and then I haven't told you this. This is fresh on the books. I get back from my honeymoon on the 19th of April, which is a Friday. On Sunday, I get back on a plane and fly out to Charlotte for a conference for a week.
Goodness gracious, you're going to be exhausted come May.
Dude, the only benefit to going on that conference, and I figured it out today. The hotel it's at is right, I think it's attached to Charlotte's massive mall. It's got 160 stores in it.
Oh, bet.
And I'm taking Elizabeth with me on it, so she's gonna get to shop to her heart's content while I do the conference stuff. But yeah, man, you're not kidding. April, it's gonna have to be March, man. If that means that we get a good seed for Huntsville and you and I get passes for Huntsville, that's what it's going to have to be this year, because you weren't kidding about April.
Yeah. Let's just hope we can get to March, the big dance. But I mean, like we said, this team has gone to the big dance twice before, and I love both of those teams. And I don't mean this in a bad way. Neither one of those teams are as complete as this team can be when all the cylinders are clicking. When it's one of those games where everybody's feeling it, we're hitting from deep, we're hitting our free throws, we're playing good defense, this team looks like it could be one of those Cinderella teams. It looks like it could be, a UMBC or a Florida Gulf Coast. That's just because of the beauty of what Ray Harper has been able to do.
Yeah, for sure.
All right. But I mean, that is not the only successful sporting group we have on campus right now. Because
no, it's not.
We have a group that, in the words of LeBron James, has won not one, not two, not three, not four, but 5 consecutive tournaments. That is the amazing women on the bowling team. 5 tournament wins in a row after finishing runner-up in their very first one.
Yeah, and I'm looking at so I've got currently the power index that was just updated 9 days ago. So this was actually not even updated before the most recent tournament. Our women's bowling team, number 1 in the country, 55-9. They're the only program one of only 2 programs with 50 or more wins. The other is Vanderbilt. Vandy is 56-22. We're the only program in the country with 50 wins and less than 10 losses.
Single-digit losses and 50-plus wins.
It's insane. And if you look at it's what's called the sum of the power index rating, and it basically takes every statistic and just bundles it up into one, and then turns into a power rating. 2 through whatever the bottom number is, it's 90. The gaps are pretty uniform. It's really close. And then you get to number 2 at Arkansas State, and then we're almost a half a point ahead of them. And everyone else is it's by a 100th of a point or a 10th of a point. And we're almost half a point higher than they are.
Crazy.
So, I mean, that just tells you, our bowling team has been leaps and bounds ahead of everyone else. And like you just said, 5-0 over the last 5 tournaments with a runner-up finish right before that. Man, the last championship we brought home, I think, was cornhole, right?
Yeah,
I think that's the last natty we brought home. So
that's the last national championship we have is cornhole. Yes, everybody cornhole.
yeah, that did happen.
It threw everybody else off when we heard about it too. Twitter randomly blew up, and we were like, "Cornhole, cornhole."
Cornhole. But man, I tell you what, you got to give credit because once again, we mentioned it over and over again. Greg Seitz, higher after higher, he hits a home run, and this one especially, he got probably the best bowling coach that the world has. And
Yeah,
you can see it here, first year program. And he manages to convince the best bowling coach in the country to come here. And now we're number 1 in the country, leaps and bounds ahead
yeah,
of every other program right now. So,
and she may have brought. I think there's 10 women on the team, and I think she had like 7 of them transfer from McKendree.
yeah,
But even outside of that, if you look at her track record there, I think out of the 9 years she was there, she won the Natty like 4 times. So it's not just a product of like her having coached most of these women before. She
yeah.
is just really good at what she does, really good at recruiting, really good at coaching them up and getting them to success. So expect to see maybe not this sort of a tear going forward, but expect to see high levels of success, us staying up there, and the top 2 top 3 going forward, because that's just how she's been.
Yeah. And, so I'm not fully familiar with like the postseason stuff when it comes to college bowling. So I'm gonna have to learn up on that. But I'm pulling up Coach O'Keefe's bio right now. 9 seasons at McKendree, 4 national championships, with 2 of those being NCAA national championships. And she was named the National 10-Pin Coaches Association Coach of the Year 7 straight seasons.
Levels.
That's
There's
unreal.
levels to this.
That's unreal.
There's levels to this, bro.
She's also
you really can't get much better than that.
No, and she's also coached 7 National Bowlers of the Year.
And
so, wow.
there we have one that is, I think, in the running for it. The one that made Team USA, Crystal. I'm pretty sure she's in the running for National Bowler of the Year. So she won the U.S. Amateur.
Yeah,
and she was named to Team USA. So like, she very well could have an 8th National Bowler of the Year.
Yeah, and while we're on it, she was in the finals in 1996 to make the USA softball team for the Olympics, and she was an All-American softball player at Portland State, where she hit 411 as a true freshman.
All I'm saying is, if Coach McGinnis wants to retire, maybe she can be a dual sport coach.
Maybe, because it sounds like she's a really good softball player too. Oh man,
Everything school, bro. Everything school. I'm telling you.
Everything school, except for one sport, but we don't talk about that right now.
You don't have to win national championships to be considered an everything school. You just got to be great at what you do, and
exactly.
by golly, we're great.
Yeah, we aren't always going to be elite at everything, but we're always going to be at least tier 2.
Oh yeah, 100%. I mean, this is kind of backtracking a little bit, but like, I've been watching a lot of college football season recaps, and there are so many people who, out of the 133 teams, they had us in the 120s, and now everybody's like, after the season, they have us in, low 90s to, mid 80s, and they're like, you know what? This team just really blew everybody's expectations out of the water. I didn't expect this. And I mean, that's the way it is with a lot of our teams just across the board. People don't expect our coaches to be as great at their craft as they are.
Yeah.
And they don't expect these players to be as motivated and hungry and, ready to prove everybody wrong as they are. But that's just how it goes.
Yeah.
Across the board, all of our sports always ready to just kind of like knock you in the mouth and, make you rethink everything you thought you knew.
Absolutely, man. We've always had that kind of scrappy energy to us every sport. I mean, and we've known it with basketball because Coach Harper's teams are, I mean, they're willing to fight for every possession. But, even, with Coach Rodriguez, with Rich Rod, obviously hard edge has become the new philosophy. And we saw it all year. The defense had it. I mean, whenever the offense was struggling, the defense kept us in it. You look at basketball this season. The offense take a little time to get ready, but the defense has been scrappy. And now obviously you look at bowling. I mean, number one ranked team in the country. I never thought I'd see any JSU athletics program ranked number one in the country, and here we are. So it's just, man, it's a great time to be a Jack State Gamecock. So
now all they need to do is build like a state-of-the-art bowling alley so they can host some tournaments at home, so we can get some fans out there.
What do you mean, man? We got rainbow lanes out in the tower.
My boy, you can go to big time entertainment. So much better.
Yeah, big time is the place to go, man. Out in Oxford, levels above everywhere else.
We just gotta get some whispers in Sight's ear. Hey, let's build a bowling alley right here on campus. I mean, there's a big open field right there by the baseball field and by the Pete.
Yeah.
Let's just kind of add an attachment of sorts to the Pete and keep it rolling. I'm trying to watch some legendary stuff. I need to see the next. Who do you think you are? I am.
Yeah. Man, that's. Oh man, I've forgotten about that because you mentioned it. But man, it is a great time to be a Jack State Gamecock for sure, and it hopefully we're not far from baseball and softball season. I think about 3 weeks.
I think we're like 2 weeks from softball, maybe less. Let me see. I think softball starts in February.
Yeah, and baseball is normally like the last week of February.
Let's see. Softball. If my phone will load, being slow. Here it is. Softball, February 9th, actually. Going to Virginia, February 9th. So that's like a week and a half away.
Baseball starts February 16th. We got a 3-game home series against Memphis.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. So, and for those of you Jack State fans who understand the real rivalry that we have, February 27th, Tuesday night, them ugly, dirty Ratbirds over there in fake Atlanta are coming to town.
Ugh.
So, yeah, it looks like a good non-conference schedule. We got a home series against Iowa. I'm pretty sure we got another home and home with Alabama and Auburn.
I think that's a recurring thing.
It is. Well, actually, we don't go to neither come here this year. We play at both of them, but they don't come. But they don't come here.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know. There's a baseball game at Sanford. Not sure if there's one at UAB. Oh yeah, there is. I might have to go check both of those out.
Yeah, I've been to check the UAB one out.
Not far from me at all. Not too far from you. At least neither one of those are really not too far from you. I just hate that those are midweek games because they're not a series. It's not a series. It's just 2 single games.
Yeah, but Hey, it is what it is. JSU baseball has always been ready to compete. We got a new head coach who was just coaching in the SEC for the last 5 or 6 years. So, another, big time coach who knows what it takes to win. So, this spring, between basketball, baseball and softball, bowling, and then about 4 weeks, spring football is going to start. Spring practice will start.
Yeah.
And which is crazy to think because it feels like football literally just ended. We have Super Bowl weekend in 2 weeks from yesterday, and then football's done, and then just like that, it'll start again in like 3 weeks.
It's not done, my friend. We have UFL.
We have UFL. We have the United Football League.
And we live in a state where now we can claim that we have a professional football team.
We do.
Because it is technically professional sports.
It is a professional league. It's not semi-pro. It is spring professional. It's a great time. Hopefully, we're gonna have a lot to talk about, especially in the next few weeks once baseball and softball get going. Hopefully, we have a lot of wins to talk about. When episodes are short like this, that means we haven't been winning a lot of games, and it's a lot harder to talk about it. Anyway,
yeah.
I don't think I got much more to talk about. I mean, it is 12:35 in the morning right now.
Yeah, I don't really have anything else either.
So, all right. Well, in that case, from the 700 Pelham Road podcast and the Sidelines Jack State crew, we hope that y'all have another great week of enjoying your lives, enjoying the discourse on Twitter. Hopefully, I'll fire off some tweets that piss someone else off, and then Jalen comes in behind me to say he doesn't know what I'm talking about. Yeah,
gotta keep them on their toes.
Exactly. For those of you I'm the one who sends the angry stuff. He's the one who comes in and is nice. I'm the one who tries to piss everyone off.
Hey, every now and then I go in and I just go off on some people.
Yeah. There's only one fan base I'll ever not be nice to. Well, 2 really. There's 2 fan bases I'll never not be nice to, and that's Kennesaw State and James Madison.
Yeah,
and I'll throw Troy in there too because they've been popping off recently about how we don't belong at the FBS level. So we have to keep reminding them. We got to keep reminding them about their place. But anyways, from the podcast, from the Twitter account, from whatever else we're on that I don't even remember anymore, we are signing off, and we will see you guys next week.
See you.